Did you get an answer, Mark Zuckerberg, please? As I understood it, that part of the reason why you were asking is if, in fact, it could be anonymous, all sorts of things can be done in this cryptocurrency Libra that maybe we wouldn't want to be done.
That's right, and it's already a huge problem for many crypto assets. You know, for any of these crypto assets, there's sort of two questions you have to answer. First, is it truly anonymous? Or is there a law enforcement agency and ultimately a court that you can go to figure out who's behind digital transactions? The other one, is there a court that you trust that allows you to reverse fraudulent or mistaken transactions? And these are the two tough policy questions that have to be answered, you know, not only for digital currencies, but digital contracts and so on.
Well, the anonymous question, I certainly is beyond my ken. I don't understand programming that much. But on the other one, on the ability to reverse, I mean, we have that with our credit cards, our Visa, our MasterCard and things. I was a little surprised that Mr. Zuckerberg wasn't ready for that to say, well, we've looked at the way they did it. We're going to try to do it the same way.
Well, it's one of the toughest issues because there have to be responsibilities on both sides. You know, if the credit card companies or the payment transaction companies are going to make consumers whole when there are mistaken or fraudulent transactions, you also have a duty to report. For example, when your ID has been stolen and someone starts to impersonate you. And so one of the things that I am working on in Congress as part of my, well, I wear several hats. One is the co-chair of the Blockchain Caucus. The other one, I'm the co-chair of a task force that we've set up on artificial intelligence in the Financial Services Committee. And one of the things we're looking at is better means for people to be able to authenticate themselves online as a specific human being. And this is going to be crucial for any payment transaction processing or actually any participation in any sort of digital contract.
Congressman Foster, we heard of a lot of the issues, possible potential problems with Libra or cryptocurrency like that. At the same time, we heard also from Mr. Zuckerberg more than once in front of you, we don't have much choice because the Chinese are already going there. We will be left behind. Does he have a point?
He absolutely does. And the space that the Chinese are moving into is the space of digital fiat currencies. These are central banks offering citizens who want the ability to transact in those currencies purely electronically. And this is something that's not unique to China. China is very aggressively going into this, but Christine Lagarde, the incoming head of the European Central Bank, has been going around giving speeches that she thinks central banks should start considering issuing digital fiat currency. So French Hill, the ranking member of the relevant subcommittee on financial services, and I wrote a letter to the Federal Reserve a few weeks ago encouraging them to think seriously about this and look at the parameters of a potential pilot program for the Federal Reserve issuing digital currencies, because this has all the advantages of that Mark Zuckerberg continuously points to, the access for underbanked or unbanked people to have low friction electronic transactions and so on. And so they will have huge advantages, but we also have to recognize that it's a natural monopoly. And that's why a lot of the Libra proposal has the business world on edge. They understand that the 2 billion Facebook subscribers will immediately provide huge scale to whatever proposal Facebook gets aligned with, and including potentially the Libra.
As you raise natural monopoly, that necessarily takes us into broader regulatory questions, as we've had for all sorts of time, since utilities, since railroads, things like that. Let's put another one of your hats on here, and that is the area of digital advertising and the use of personal data for that. You are backing, as I understand it, something called the Dashboard Bill. Explain what that would do.
Yeah, it's something that's being introduced by Senators Hawley and Warner in the Senate, and we're going to be introducing it, the House Companion Bill. And what this does is it provides consumers some transparency on which of their data is being collected and how it is being monetized, as well as providing citizens some limited ability to delete information that is being used. And so what I asked Mr. Zuckerberg in our hearing is if we could have a technical reading on what's easy and hard about that to implement and comply with.
And one of the questions is, would we pay attention to it? I mean, those of us out in the real world, because we get all of these agreements online all the time, I frankly don't even look at it. It just says, click at the bottom and say you accept. It's pages and pages. Do we think the consumers actually would pay attention, read that stuff, and actually make a decision, an informed decision?
Well, I think what consumers would like to see is some standardization of those terms. If you knew, for example, this is a type A, type B, or type C disclosure, where type C basically says, use my data for whatever you want. Type A says, use this only for the transaction that we're about to engage in, and then throw it away and never use it for anything else. And then type B was a more nuanced one that allowed a limited use for the company, ability for the company to monetize it. That some simple set of options like that are, I think, at the limit of what a consumer would like to deal with. And I hope that the regulators and industry starts to encourage more standardization of those terms and conditions.
Finally, Congressman, take us behind the scenes, because we've heard from Mr. Zuckerberg and others that they really do think that the time has come for regulation. They want to work with you on doing that. Are they working with you behind the scenes? Is Facebook being cooperative and trying to think through these things in a responsible way?
Yeah, well, prior to the rollout, they came through with a representative of Facebook and a representative of the Libra Association, and I had an individual, quite long discussion with them about many of the technical details. You know, discussions about the extent to which Libra, depending on how it's structured, might or might not affect monetary policy of the currencies that it is bundling together. And so they have been very good at making themselves available to us. On the other hand, a lot of the tough questions, as you saw in the hearing, are ones they have not yet provided clear answers to. And this is, I think, the next step in this discussion.